We turn now to Psalm 31. For the leader, a psalm of David. I seek refuge in you, O Lord. May I never be disappointed. As you are righteous, rescue me. Incline your ear to me. Be quick to save me. Be a rock, a stronghold for me, a citadel for my deliverance. For you are my rock and my fortress. You lead me and guide me as befits your name. You free me from the net laid for me, for you are my stronghold. Into your hand I entrust my spirit. You redeem me, O Lord, faithful God. I detest those who rely on empty folly, but I trust in the Lord. Let me exult and rejoice in your faithfulness. When you notice my affliction, are mindful of my deep distress, and do not hand me over to my enemy, but grant me relief. Have mercy on me, O Lord, for I am in distress. My eyes are wasted by vexation, my substance and body too. My life is spent in sorrow, my years in groaning. My strength fails because of my iniquity, my limbs waste away. Because of all my foes, I am the particular butt of my enemies, a horror to my friends. Those who see me on the street avoid me. I am put out of mind like the dead. I am like an object given up for lost. I hear the whisperings of many, intrigue on every side as they scheme together against me, plotting to take my life. But I trust in you, O Lord. I say, you are my God. My fate is in your hand. Save me from the hand of my enemies and pursuers. Show favor to your servant as you are faithful. Deliver me. O Lord, let me not be disappointed when I call you. Let the wicked be disappointed. Let them be silenced in Sheol. Let lying lips be stilled that speak haughtily against the righteous with arrogance and contempt. How abundant is the good that you have in store for those who fear you, that you do in the full view of men for those who take refuge in you. You grant them the protection of your presence against scheming men. You shelter them in your pavilion from contentious tongues. Blessed is the Lord, for he has been wondrously faithful to me, a veritable bastion. Alarmed, I had thought, I am thrust out of your sight. Yet you listened to my plea for mercy when I cried out to you. So love the Lord, all you faithful. The Lord guards the loyal and more than requites him who acts arrogantly. Be strong and of good courage, all you who wait for the Lord. The psalmist speaks as one who has been ostracized and marginalized by society. And unlike some of the previous psalms, where in the previous selections the psalmist talks about how he is blameless and innocent and righteous, in this case, the author admits that he has been guilty of iniquity, that his strength fails as a result, his limbs waste away. He spends his life in sorrow and years in groaning. He has been the butt of his neighbors, a horror to his friends. People avoid him. If he's on the street, people cross to the other side so as to stay far away from him. He feels and perceives the whisperings and murmurings of many who are opposed to him, his enemies, plotting to take his life. But he finds refuge and faith in God, and his deep and abiding faith delivers him day in and day out. I can't help but think of the life of Moses, the great prophet and lawgiver, who, as great a leader as he was, led in many ways a solitary life in the sense that he often felt alone and isolated. And he knew that there were enemies from among his own people who were plotting against him. Even his own brother and sister murmured against him at one point. And yet, with all of that, Moses was able to continue and forge ahead as the leader of his people, to lead the people Israel courageously and effectively through their wanderings in the desert towards the promised land. Moses himself was far from perfect. He was guilty of iniquity. He had killed an Egyptian taskmaster. He had lost his temper against the people Israel. He was a human being with human shortcomings and failings, and he knew that. And yet at the same time, he was a leader and a role model for his people. And so at the end of this psalm, when the psalmist writes, "Be strong and of good courage, all you who wait for the Lord," the last two verses of this psalm represent a shift in focus, where the bulk of the psalm, the writer is focusing on his own inner life, his own feelings, his fears, his sorrows, his travails, his hope, and his faith. In the last two verses, he turns from inward to outward and faces his people, faces the listener, and urges them to love the Lord because the Lord protects the loyal. He urges his people, his listeners, to be strong. Chizku v'ya'ametz levavchem. Be strong and of good courage. Take heart, essentially, he is saying to them. Call hamiyachalim ladonai, all those who wait for the Lord. Just before Moses died, he used the same words in his final charge to Joshua, who would take over the mantle of leadership and lead the people Israel across the river Jordan into the land of Israel. Moses said to Joshua, "Be strong, chazak ve'ematz, be strong and of good courage." Moses knew that he would not be leading the people into the promised land. Joshua would be the appointed one to do that task. Moses also knew that just as he was to die, it was now up to the new leadership, the next generation, to take over and to set an example of faith and courage and leadership. Moses, having known the loneliness of isolation, having known what it was like to be marginalized and ostracized by those who opposed him, is now essentially charging Joshua to say, a similar thing may happen to you, and you as a leader may understand what it is like to feel alone, to feel challenged, to feel threatened. Therefore, be strong and of good courage, and have faith in God. In today's day and age, those of us who are among the older generation living through this pandemic, our hearts go out to the younger generation because they are experiencing the hardship of a societal upheaval, the likes of which we in our age have not seen. Many of us were born after the Great Depression. We do not understand what it is like to have this level of want and poverty and challenge and societal change. We don't understand what it is like to live in deprivation the way people did in the 1930s in America during the Great Depression. But our next generation, they are going to have to live with this. And therefore, it is up to us to say to them, Chazak ve'ematz, be strong and of good courage, have faith and have hope in God. Our faith will see us all through. And just as we turn the mantle of leadership over to the next generation, as Moses did to Joshua, we need to do so knowing that the world will be in their hands, and hopefully the world will be in good hands as long as they maintain their sense of faith and devotion to a power greater than they are, to a higher power, to God. Thank you.